Okay, so I'm going to review the video here with Rob Noerr and Brian Shapiro, and this is when Rob gets Ben nice and emotional. Here today is, well, introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Red.
He is Red.
Real quick, let's go through this. You say because he hasn't been found liable of sexual assault. His own VP candidate said she believed the women that said at the very least he acted inappropriate sexually, sniffing their hair, filling them up, which would be tantamount to sexual harassment.
Wait, who said that? Who said it was inappropriate?
There was 4 or 5 women that came out during the 2020 election.
4 or 5 women that came out.
Yes.
Got you. Okay, got you.
And then you had, what was the name of the woman that came out and said that Joe Biden sexually penetrated her?
Hold on. So you're comparing somebody who is found liable for sexual abuse. By the way, the judge characterizes to Joe Biden sniffing hair and a...
They are comparing right now. Brian was asking Rob here, how can you vote for somebody like Trump? I think it was immoral to vote for Trump. And so, of course, Rob says, well, you voted for Biden, correct? Yes. And so, of course, you now have to start comparing Biden to Trump. But Brian is, of course, started to spur on the things that Biden is being compared to. And so, go ahead.
For me, it doesn't have to go that far. It goes to, I've given you the analogy before of, would you rather work for a boss who is super chill, but is a terrible manager? He's not great at giving people overtime when they want it. He's not great at giving people raises. He really doesn't do a lot of work. He just sits around, but he's a really chill person. You really like him. Or would you rather work for someone who's a bit of a dick, maybe says comments you don't agree with, you definitely don't agree with him politically, but he takes care of his people, make sure they got sick leave when they need it. He gets them raises and promotions when they deserve it. But we all know who would rather work for. It's like, yeah, the guy may be a dick, but I'm here to work, and that's what I want to work for.
Well, I would definitely rather work for that second person, but there are too many people out there who are lazy and would rather work with the chill guy. I mean, think about that.
Well,
they don't want to work. They would rather sit there and collect the paycheck that they have. Oh, I'm already making $18 an hour. I'm fine with that. I'd rather barely work and barely get by on what I have with my chill ass boss who doesn't mind if I don't work but 2 hours out of the actual 8-hour workday. You know what I mean? So I understand obviously the point of your analogy, but you're talking about actual adults.
Yeah. Go on.
But as far as Brian and Rob here, Rob brings up the one lady who said that Joe Biden digitally penetrated her, but that basically was kind of swept under the rug, especially in the news. They just kind of like went over it and then they basically never spoke of it again. And so Brian is currently trying to dodge all that.
Couple of random women saying it was inappropriate. You're trying to compare.
Okay, so you're degrading the argument on its face by saying a couple of random women as opposed to these other women who we know their names. That's not the argument here. The argument here is the cases themselves, what information they do or don't have, and the fact that by and large the allegations are fairly similar in the fact that they're allegations. And if anything,
there are things that they were said.
Investigations done for the Trump allegations, they were actually investigated and proven to be horseshit. As opposed to the Tara Reid. She was the one who accused Joe Biden.
Yes, thank you.
Her case has largely been, like you said, ignored, swept under the rug, and not investigated. So, I'm on the case of let's find out what's going on, and if someone did something wrong, well, we can punish them. But if investigation, we find out they didn't do something wrong, we can now clear them of charges. And the fact is we've cleared one, and they, for some reason, refuse to investigate the other. And
then you also have the point that he's going to bring up in a minute, the fact that Trump is a 32-time felon, which is not true. Yes, he has 32 charges that they quote-unquote convicted him on. But then he said, liable for sexual abuse. Do people not understand what the charge liable for sexual abuse means?
No, they do not. No, they do not. Legal jargon is so gate-kept from the general public. So for first, he's a 32 count felon. Those are, was it Class D or Class E misdemeanors in the state of New York, which New York knows are not felonies, and in order to be a felony, they have to be elevated by cause association of another felony act. And what happened was the judge essentially gave the jury 3 different choices, and they all had to agree that one of those choices was done or was so the 32 counts were in support of, so like voting fraud being one of the 3 choices. But we don't know which choices were actually chose or if they were chose at all, or we just know that the jury's decided, no, he also did a felony, but we're not going to charge for a felony, so he's a felon. So there's that. And then on the flip side, liable.
Yeah, so just Googling it real quick. I don't want to do a deep dive into it because I know we can do that for an hour. Search Assist says being liable for sexual abuse means that a person or entity is legally responsible. That's the big part there, is that they are legally responsible for committing or allowing sexual abuse to occur, and they may be required to compensate the victim for the harm caused. This liability can arise from direct actions from the abuser or from negligence by institutions that fail to protect individuals from abuse. And I believe was that E. Jean Carroll?
Yeah, that's E. Jean Carroll.
It is? Okay, because I don't remember if that was the woman who was claiming that he raped her at the party or whatever it was, or was that if that was a different lady? I can't remember.
No, E. Jean Carroll claimed that he did stuff in the changing room at a department store, even though they were right across the street from one of Trump's properties, which they could have gone to if you want to do something there. And she has a very clear recollection of what happened, and she knew exactly what she was wearing, except what she was wearing didn't come out till 2 years after when this supposedly happened.
Yeah, I was going to say,
a very specific dress, and that dress wasn't designed and released till 2 years later. So,
so if you go down a little bit, the legal consequences, because it was a civil lawsuit, not a criminal lawsuit, it simply says victims can sue for damages seeking compensation. So it was not a felony. It was a civil lawsuit, which is the other thing that people forget about. And I believe it was considered institutional liability, but they applied it to him specifically. Or maybe it was under individual liability, because it says individual, it applies to the person who directly commits the acts. But they didn't actually get him on committing the act itself. Like, that wasn't what the conviction was for. And it wasn't a civil lawsuit, which is the 2 types. They could face criminal charges or civil lawsuits. But you would think that if they had more than enough evidence to convict on a criminal lawsuit, they would have. But they didn't.
Not only that, keep in mind, Trump wasn't the sexual deviant, racist bigot that he is until 2015. Because all the people that are accusing him of all these things 10 years ago were buddy, chummy with him. Which to me shows more about them than him.
Because if he was all those things in the past, you were buddy with him. What were you doing?
Exactly. Yep. Aren't these the people that say silence is violence?
Or you knew it was going on and you never said anything.
Exactly the point. It says more about you, or you chose not to say anything until it became politically, or in some cases, financially beneficial to you.
The exact same thing about the people who would have been involved or around P. Diddy.
All right, so what else does Rob have to say?
Those two? No. That is a joke, Rob. That makes you look bad. That's a joke.
I'm trying to compare them in this sense. One, I don't.
Yeah, and it's not comparable. It's not comparable.
Let me finish. Right? One, with those women specifically, the accusation of E. Jean Carroll's worse. I don't believe E. Jean Carroll. Secondly, Tara Reid's accusation. Let me finish. Tara Reid's accusation against Joe Biden was worse. That he digitally penetrated her with his finger. Kamala Harris said she believed the women that accused Biden and then went to work for him. And last point, you could have chose not to support Joe Biden over that, but you didn't. You still voted for him. Why?
I like that he exactly named the women that I couldn't remember. That was funny. Yep. But and then Rob makes a great point of Kamala Harris specifically stated that she believed the women and then went and became his vice president.
Not only that, remember on the campaign trail, Kamala straight up said that if Joe Biden had his way, then she wouldn't have been able to be bused to a interracial school. And she brought up Biden's racism and an actual history of racism and using racist language. Not wanting in the primaries in a racial jungle and using the N-word in Congress. We've got recordings from him from the 70s. You know, it's ridiculous. And she's still just like, oh, never mind. You're going to make me be your token? Yeah, I'll do that. Again, it says more about you than it says about them. For as horrible as politicians in general, I think in generality are, unfortunately, good men and women find themselves away from politics by and large. Not that there aren't good ones out there, but
Yeah.
for as horrible as they are, it just shows more how horrible the ones that will just turn on each other for their own personal gain. And Kamala one day was talking about racists being basically just about as Trump, sexual deviant, racist, and then the next day when he asked her to be VP, she's like, "Oh no, Biden's amazing. He's fantastic."
Let's talk about that. So you're talking about an accusation. I just want to be very clear to clear things up, Rob. An accusation is very different than somebody who's actually found liable by a jury of his peers. That's number one. Number two, there are over 25.
Did Biden
So-
ever
so
go
bring it
ahead
up.
of jury of his peers?
Exactly.
That's the question.
He never did, because all of the accusations against him, they brush aside like, okay, whatever, but it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So, yeah.
And as
we
soon as he
can
got out
say,
of
sure,
office, he was
quote,
basically
unquote,
declared
found-
an old man who couldn't be by himself.
Oh, which is ridiculous because, again, Republicans were saying this literally before he was even elected. And then 6 months after, not even, but as he was leaving office, 3 months before he was leaving office, all of a sudden the Democrats were like, "Oh my God, he's not well." And you had the one reporter, I can't remember his name, who wrote a book about it as if they were the one to discover that he wasn't mentally there.
I think that was Trapper.
I believe that sounds right. Jake
Yeah.
Tapper? That's not Jake Tapper. I don't remember.
Yeah, Jake Tapper. I think that was him, but that might be somebody else.
Let's see if I can do a quick search on it. Yeah, Original Sin. Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson. Released, May 2025, as if they got the inside scoop, as if we didn't already know. Like him or hate him, I do think that Trump has made what is hopefully a precedent in being president, being that Donald Trump is the most visible president, as far as I'm aware of, in American history. Again, like him or hate him, you see what he has to say every day. And
yeah,
you had
social media definitely transformed.
Oh yeah, but you had that from 2016 to 2020. And then 2021 to 2024, crickets.
Well, and the presidency is supposed to be the most visible political office. The presidency is supposed to be the closest to the people.
The presidency is
it does
the
make sense that
the world in a way.
Exactly, and it is pretty funny that social media transformed that, and Trump went, "Yep, okay, let's do this." And Obama did that a little bit, but not nearly as much. It seemed like he was a little more hesitant.
I think Obama was for his time and pre-Trump. I think Obama was appropriately visible.
Okay, I guess that's a good way to say it. Yeah,
seeing him on TV fairly regularly for as politically active as I was or wasn't at the time. Yeah, I don't think it was an issue with Obama's visibility. I think there were other issues with Obama, but visibility wasn't necessarily one of them. For Biden, though, there was a clear issue of visibility, especially with the 4 preceding years of Trump, and him being so visible. I mean, keep in mind, Trump was so visible on social media that in order to corroborate the story of J6 to make it work, they had to remove him from social media. If you were trying to do some sort of operation against the Biden administration in a similar manner, you wouldn't need to remove Biden off of social media because he's already in a basement eating ice cream, not knowing where he is anyway.
Women, not one woman. And by the way, the woman that you're referring to that accused Joe Biden of sexual abuse changed her story multiple times. She
So
didn't
did
file.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say, Rob.
Thank you. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Fun. And she also didn't file any sort of liable suit or anything. Now, there are 25 women that have accused Donald Trump of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife in a deposition under oath. Again, you compare apples to oranges, and a statement that Joe Biden made about go back to your bunker to Donald Trump for 4 hours who did nothing when January 6th was happening. You are comparing apples to oranges. It is a bad faith argument, and you are embarrassing yourself. Now,
okay, so real quick, since he brought it up, the whole argument about he spent 4 hours doing nothing during January 6th. Do they think that they were not compiling information, trying to figure out what was going on with the National Guard, trying to communicate with Pelosi and the other members of Congress, et cetera, et cetera? Do they think they weren't doing anything?
Keep in mind, it's already come out that days before J6, the National Guard, there was already a memo from the Trump office to Nancy Pelosi, who at the time as Speaker of the House was in charge of security, Capitol security. The National Guard support was offered to Pelosi and she turned it down. And there's that now semi-hidden video between Nancy and her daughter where Nancy admits that she was offered National Guard security and turned it down prior to J6. There was already, J6 was this is clear. J6 was a legal protest before it turned riotous. They
Correct.
were already aware of large groups of Americans wanting to go to the Capitol.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there were already people gathering, I think 30 minutes to an hour before Trump even finished his speech. The moment where he said, we are going to go down there and we are going to peacefully and patriotically protest, there were already a large amount of people gathering. So it's not like, and I don't think he ended that speech for another like 45 minutes after that moment. Like people have dissected the crap out of January 6th.
Trump can talk.
So people want to say that he sent people down there. He was still speaking. That was a dog whistle. How ridiculous.
Well, I mean, two more things on that is, one, there was just that the one report that came out against the BBC where they're intentional splicing of footage.
Yes. Yes, I remember seeing that one.
Exactly. Made it intentionally appear as though Trump was directing people to the Capitol, even though there was already stuff going on. And then two, keep in mind, Trump posted on Twitter to chill out at the Capitol, and Twitter removed his post prior to removing his account or banning his account.
And that's because I think, wasn't Bezos still in charge of it at that point?
Not Bezos. This was Twitter.
Yeah.
So Twitter would have been...
I thought Bezos had owned it.
No, it's what's his name? That's not Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm sorry. Can't believe I got that wrong.
Yeah, it's Jack Dorsey. Oh, but again, keep in mind, this year alone, several large organizations, including Facebook, Meta, and Twitter, have come out and said, yes, the Biden administration was telling us to silence American citizens. Was telling us, a private entity, who to moderate. If that's not one of, we can make
that would be a violation of the First Amendment.
Well, there's that. But if that isn't one of the most blatant uses of quote unquote authoritarianism, using that term lightly and in a semi-mocking manner, for those who overuse it. Not that it isn't, obviously it is. But
I did a video on what is fascism.
Yes,
well, those words have meaning, but yeah.
Well, so I'm trying to clarify my meanings.
Right.
It's crazy how much is out there and how little is discussed and disseminated and how little the common person know.
Yeah. Even though we have Google and other powerful search engines, people don't actually bother to research.
Well, knowing how to research, knowing how to Google is a bit of a skill.
That's fair. That's fair.
Google, even in a political sense, is biased on giving you what you're looking for.
Look, I grew up when beepers were still cool, okay?
Yeah, I know. But it can sometimes be difficult in trying to make sure you're finding valid counter arguments to your discussion.
Yeah.
So.
Not embarrassing. It's not just about comparing the two. Let me finish, please. It's not just about comparing. It's about you saying that Joe Biden was a moral person. You could even make the argument that you think that Donald Trump was worse. That's fine. We'll disagree on the specifics of it. You keep giving a litany of things, and we're not going to get into the depth of the specific of any one of them, which I would be happy to do. The point I'm trying to make is you claim that Joe Biden was a moral person. We see what he did there. We see in his daughter's own diary, she said that her father took inappropriate sexual showers with him. When you talk about the Gold Star families, the 13th service.
Hold on. You can't.
Okay, but I'm going to stop the points too. Then is that fair?
Fair enough.
Okay,
fair enough. The diary that you are referring to was in the hands of multiple people on the far right, including a guy by the name of Mr. O'Keefe. The daughter never said that she wrote that in the diary.
So because it was in her diary, and because it was passed around, quote unquote, to multiple people on the right, including James O'Keefe, and because Ashley Biden never claimed that she specifically wrote that in there, nope, we cannot say that she did write it specifically.
The argument here is rules for thee and not for me. The argument here is
obviously. I mean, that's always where Brian's going to go.
Racist bigot who doesn't understand the world, and you're following this evil man to the ends of the earth. Except for the fact that every time Trump does have a misstep, I think Republicans were more pissed off about what happened months ago with Bondi and the Epstein files than the left were. I remember 1 year ago talking to people over a year ago, back in, I don't know, August of last year, talking to people about Trump is running one of his things as he wants to release the Epstein files, and how much that his administration has botched the release of the Epstein files, and how I've got center left and left leaning and leftists on my Facebook who didn't mention a darn thing about the Epstein files until Bondi botched the release, and all of a sudden they think that Trump's on the Epstein files. It's like, I'm sorry, you did not care prior to you thinking it had political gains for you. And so jumping back to Brian here, this runaround of, oh, well, she this, oh, well, she that. Oh, well, it's like, well, why don't you scrutinize your own side the way you're scrutinizing your opposing side? I find that in the best way to build logic arguments are to, you know, poke more holes in your own argument than your opponent's argument. Because if you can find all the holes in your argument, then when you make your argument and they've got a counter, well, you've already poked that hole, so you already know the counter to that one.
I'll say, and then you fill them in. Yep.
As opposed to filling yourself with tearing down their argument. You can fill yourself with building up your own. And what I see a lot of times with people like Brian is he's so focused on tearing down his opponents that he's not even looking at his own side. He's not even looking at his own thoughts, opinions, views. And there's very little criticism of the left. Within the left, the last big criticism I can really think of is anytime someone's excised as being a TERF, you know, which hasn't happened in a minute, but like JK being excised as a TERF was one of the biggest left-wing civil wars of the past 5 years.
Yeah,
you know, it's like the right wing's been in a civil war on and off for the last 15 years. It feels like.
I mean, that's because the right is generally willing to criticize their own, but the left, in general, is kind of a conglomerate of thought. I'm not saying they're all brainwashed or anything, but it's all, everybody basically believes in all the big things.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've got the passive left, which are genuinely kind-hearted people who don't know enough, but are told that they do. That is, I think, the largest constituency of the left, are actual genuinely kind people who somehow can be as kind as they are, but also believe that their neighbor is evil and deserves to die because he voted for Trump. Because they simply are not consuming enough media, or enough of a media that isn't one of the 6 of the same voices. Like, oh, I hear from CNN and New York Times and MSNBC. It's like, you're hearing from the same person. Congratulations. Look at some other points. You don't have to agree with them. Just look at them. I can't tell you how much time I spend listening to people I generally agree with, and I yell at them on the car ride to and from work because I disagree with them on this point.
Yeah.
That's what Brian is failing to do, is he's failing to apply his same dodgy logics, which is what they accuse the right of doing all the time. And in some cases, they're right. There are people on the right, whether it be general, just citizens who vote right-leaning, or people who post social media often, or who do videos and stuff, who do fail to do the same tests on their own sides and opinion. But personally, I see it a lot more on the left.
Fair enough.
It was never confirmed in the diary. It was in the hands of multiple people on the far right. In fact, it was her daughter who was up there at the Democrat National Convention that introduced her father. Again, her father was never charged with a crime in his life. And again, you're talking about a page in the diary that has never been confirmed. It has never been proven in a court of law that that was actually in there. And even if it was in there, she didn't say that her.
All right, Brian. So a court of law is entirely right. Is that what Brian's saying? Wow.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. That
I guess OJ really
is good to go.
Really isn't a murderer then. I mean, isn't OJ being a running gag for years and years now? It's like everyone goes, "Oh yeah, we know he did it," but the court of law said he didn't.
Exactly. So clearly he didn't. He is a fully 100% innocent man.
Again, this is just to say that court of law he's making this argument of authority. He's going, "Oh, a court of law, Well, did a jury of his peers look at any of this Biden stuff?"
But he is doing exactly what you said. It's the argument from authority. He's not making an actual logical argument here. He's trying. I admit that. He's trying in whatever kind of a mind he has here, but he's trying to compare these things. It's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Her father broke the law. She said it was borderline inappropriate. So again, you're trying to compare apples to oranges, and I can tell you just the statements alone that Donald Trump has made about his daughter. I would date her if she wasn't my daughter, talking about her body. We have sex in common. So spare me the BS. Go ahead and go on with what you were saying.
I mean, again,
yeah, those quotes that he just said, a little weird and maybe a little inappropriate. Sure, but are they that creepy in comparison to what was written in her diary? Which I believe in a moment here, Rob will confirm that Ashley said that is her diary and she did write the things in her diary.
Here's the thing. He wants to make this argument about what was or wasn't proven in court. Was it proven in court that she didn't write that in her diary?
No.
Thank you. Until it has been proven that it absolutely was not her, you are making conjecture. You don't know. I don't know. We have potential evidence that is being refused to be reviewed. And until then, it's just potential evidence.
The problem is that you go through these things and I think you're disingenuous. For example, let me finish, or perhaps you just don't know the facts of what you're talking about. Let me finish. On April 8th, 2024, in a letter to U.S. District Attorney Judge Laura Taylor Swain, Ashley Biden confirmed the diary was hers and expressed distress over its online availability. What you're trying to do is say, because she didn't specifically say, yes, that one sentence I wrote. Instead, she said, yes, the information that's been made out there was a diary that I wrote. You're doing the exact same. Let me finish. You're doing the exact same thing that they did under the Hunter Biden laptop, which is to deny the reality of what happened by saying, but a right-winger got their hands on it, and so now we must deny it, which itself was garbage, and we saw that the laptop was actually accurate.
Okay, so the only reason I paused it is because later on, Brian is going to complain, how did we get here? Because they end up jumping subjects because of Brian. So we just went from Biden-Trump to Ashley Biden, and then now we're about to get on the Hunter laptop because of Brian, only because Rob brings it up as a point of comparison. But Brian is the one who jumps topics.
Who jumps on it.
But he's going to blame the jumping of all the multiple topics on Rob. Okay? I want to point that out right now before it goes further.
Well, and again, I just want to be clear. Brian's logic is, if the opposing side is behind something potentially damaging to my side, I can say it's not true simply because I don't trust the opposing side. Congratulations, you've created modern politics like that.
Yeah,
that doesn't get us anywhere, Brian.
What's the evidence? Well, the evidence is feelings. Is my preference.
Well, he's explicitly saying that his evidence that it isn't true is the fact that the opposing side got a hold of it. Okay, so congratulations. I can now completely say that the Russia hoax was in fact Russia hoax, and I can also say that J6 was this, and I can bring up every other piece of allegation. I can bring up all of people saying that Trump was racist for the comments he made about the Parkland 5 shooting years ago, even though those same people were BFFs with him when it happened and after it happened for years. Go on.
What's in the laptop, Rob?
Hunter Biden laptop did all kinds of things. One, it showed that. Okay, you want to hear some of the accusations?
No, I don't want to hear accusations because that means crap to me. What has been actually proven that is?
Accusations mean crap to you, Brian. Yep. Really? But accusations against Trump, that's real evidence. That really happened. He was found liable in court of sexual abuse. Yeah, but up until then, it's accusations, right? But you agree with the accusations and push the accusations to court. That's how it works. Right?
Exactly.
We take the accusations.
Once again, with the Biden family,
court, and then review it under court.
Exactly. But once again, with the Biden family, the accusations that could have been brought forth for Hunter Biden went away.
Well, and again, we also do know that Facebook was intentionally throttling the Biden laptop story in the months prior to. Yes, that was in the months prior to the election. And Democratic strategists, it's been revealed that they understood that if that story was released, they would have lost the election. Then they knew that at the time. That's why they intentionally made sure it was throttled. Because it was something of up to I think 5%, which is more than you needed. Up to 5% of people who voted for Joe Biden would have either switched to a third party, switched to Trump, or not voted at all.
Yeah, I think you only need 3.
Not even. You only needed a couple of percentage in 3 different states. It may have been more than that, but it was Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, I think those 4 states, I think it was 200,000 people between those 4 states. I think that's all you really needed to move over or to just not be on Biden's vote. And those states would have flipped, which would have flipped the whole election.
Hunter Biden said that he worked for the spy chief of China.
Okay. What is in the laptop, Rob? I didn't ask you what Hunter Biden said.
There was electronic evidence of things that Hunter Biden had said via communications.
What source was that?
The laptop itself.
What source was that? Where was that proven in a court of law?
It doesn't matter if it was proven in a court.
Back to the proven in a court of law, like you said earlier. Where was that proven in a court of law? But we have the evidence from the laptop itself, and there were messages he specifically said that he said this. Yeah, I don't believe that.
Okay, well, I mean,
Why?
from now on, I think people should just flood his online feeds every time he says something or he makes a comment about something negative he thinks about Trump or any other political opponent. You can just respond with, where was that proven in a court of law?
Yep.
You know,
My thoughts
Trump's
exactly.
evil comments on this and blah, blah, blah. Well, where was that proven in a court of law, Brian? Really? You're just accusations right now. They're not evidence. They're not real until it's been to a court of law. And you can tell by the way he's repeating it. He knows that is the weakest argument he has, but that's the only argument he has, which is why he's defaulting to it. Well, where's that proven in a court of law, Rob? But where's that proven in a court of law, Rob? While Rob is just trying to give him the next thing, and all he's doing is interrupting with that on repeat. He has nothing else to say.
Exactly.
Matter of something. Okay, so we're just going by allegations and what on the right side.
Your appeals
Dumbest thing I've ever heard in my
I
life.
just want to be clear.
Oh my God.
Let's assume that we go back to the Jim Crow South real quick, and there was law enforcement that don't arrest someone who was a racist and lynch a black man. You'd say, hey, there's nothing that happened here. It wasn't proven in a court of law.
First of all, Hunter Biden never
That wasn't the point.
lynched anybody. It's a horrible analogy that you just.
Who said otherwise?
What is in the, what is,
Well, Brian, was it proven in a court of law that Joe Biden never did? How do you know?
Exactly. How do you know?
in the Hunter Biden that the FBI provided that Hunter Biden broke the law in the laptop? What has been proven other than allegedly people like idiots like Tina Peters, who's in jail right now, who did this show before? Can you please tell me what has been? I can't even believe we're talking about the Hunter Biden laptop.
Sure.
I want to get to Donald Trump stuff, but why don't you just answer the question?
I did answer the question. It said all sorts of things. Does it have to rise to a? It said that he was with spy chief of China. It showed that he had business arrangements that proved that his tax receipts were a lie, that he wasn't paying taxes because it had emails that proved how much money he made. It showed that he was registered. He wasn't registered as a foreign lobbyist and was working at the behalf of foreign groups. And where was that proven? It was he admitted it. We know that it's proven. Okay, we have whistleblowers. Let me finish. Where has he proven? We have whistleblowers from the IRS and the FBI that have both said that they tried to prosecute these crimes, but they were stymied by the Biden administration that wouldn't prosecute the crimes.
And there we go. Like I said earlier.
Rob's on it.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. He keeps repeating the same thing. Well, where was that proven? Where was that proven? Well, we have the evidence from the laptop. These are things that he specifically said and or things that could be corroborated because of his own words and or data/information pulled from the laptop.
And this goes back to what I was saying earlier, is to me, it seems as if Brian's almost asking him in genuine curiosity what was in it. Because Brian himself has not looked into this. He doesn't know what was theoretically in or not in it. All he knows is that he was told that it has no validity, it's not real, it hasn't been proven, and so whatever they say is in it is false. But it doesn't appear to me that he's done any research into it. He doesn't have any specific facts. No, he didn't mention, oh well, the Burisma thing is wrong. He didn't say, oh well, the China thing is wrong. Oh well, the cut for the big guy, we don't know. He doesn't have any specifics. He's not countering with any
otherwise
actual
you'd think he would have mentioned specific things. Exactly. That's why he asked Rob for specific things, because it doesn't seem like he knows anything about it besides the Hunter laptop story is fake. Exactly.
So in his head, he goes, "Oh, I don't know anything about this." So maybe if I press Rob to what was really in it, Rob won't know either. Oh crap, Rob does know. Well, then how do we prove that? How do you know?
Gotcha. Okay. So let's just say...
We just don't listen to those whistleblowers, just the whistleblowers you like against Trump,
right? Let's just say, for argument's sake, that there were crimes committed with taxes. We know that he already was found guilty of taxes. Let's just say, for argument's sake, I want to remind you, Rob, because some people do forget, Hunter Biden never worked in the Joe Biden administration, but a guy by the name of Jared Kushner did, right? And he received $2.1 billion from the Saudis.
What's
I'm wondering,
Rob's correct. That is whataboutism, because you're talking about the Hunter Biden laptop situation, and therefore crimes that Hunter Biden should be answering for. But now you're pivoting to Jared Kushner and saying, what about Jared Kushner? Literal whataboutism.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'll be honest, I don't actually know the specifics about Jared Kushner and taking $2.1 billion from the Saudis. I have no idea about that situation. I remember hearing about it, but at that time, I wasn't listening. I was doing a whole lot of work, and so I was media blacked out.
Yeah, so I didn't do too much research into that either. This was a couple years ago, and this was post. I believe it was during the Biden administration. So after Trump won and ended, and Kushner was no longer associated with the government, and there was a investment from a Saudi fund, $2 million into one of his consulting or legal firms. I'm not sure really which. Now, you can definitely say fishy. You can definitely question it. You can definitely try to draw conspiracy lines. I've got no problem with any of that.
Wait, so let me make sure. You're telling me that this is after Trump's presidency, during the Biden administration.
As far as I'm aware, yeah. I can be wrong, but as far as I'm aware, I believe it was. It may have been at the tail end of Trump one, but Jared has come out and said this was after he left government service. So he was no longer in the government at the time when the investments were made.
Now, the Searcher says that he received a $2 billion investment from Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund after he left the White House. So, according to this, he was no longer working.
July 2021.
So he was no longer working there. So
again,
I understand that.
Was in office.
Yeah, so then that's not even analogous to the whole Hunter Biden, Joe Biden situation, because his father was no longer in political power.
Well, if you want to make, and this is just me making something up out of the blue, if you want to make up some sort of conspiracy line saying this was a payment for stuff that Trump 1 administration did and Jared specifically did, and to make it look clean, they didn't invest the money until post leaving office, but this was payment for stuff that he didn't promise, blah blah. If you want to draw lines like that, sure, that's fine. I haven't seen anything about it. All I've seen is the ethical debate on him receiving the money at all, not any conspiracy lines on it. And as far as I can tell, it's all above board, and there doesn't seem to be anything illegal about it.
Okay, so I guess you could make that that argument, but the whole ethical situation with Hunter Biden is the fact that he used his father's name and the fact that he was in political power to do a, what did they call it, pay for play, pay for access, basically.
Yes.
To his father, who was vice president during Obama, and then also president at the time. So that would be the bigger ethical conundrum.
There is a clip out there of Joe Biden when he was VP on a stage, sitting down talking one-on-one in an interview. And in this clip, he makes a clear comment about having a Ukrainian official removed from office. Otherwise, the U.S. would not do business with them. Yeah.
You're not going to get the money if he's not out by wherever. Son of a bitch. They removed him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the exact clip.
Yeah. If that's not corruption, they literally blackmailed another government.
Well, I mean, on the one end, if it is for the betterment of America, and because I'm not going to necessarily damn that on the surface. If it's
okay, that's fair.
If it's, all
governments kind of do that.
Exactly. To a point, it's like this person is, for example, we'll give Venezuela $10 billion, but you got to get Maduro out of office. The only question there would be, why are we giving them $10 billion? No one's going to question getting Maduro out of office. You see what I'm saying? So
right.
There are situations where possibly, but when we have this additional information from the laptop and we have Hunter Biden, who honestly, sadly, appears largely incompetent. I can just be honest.
Yeah,
Daddy got a commission in the Navy that he somehow ruined within 1 year. Do you realize how hard you have to screw up to have your dad, Vice President of the United States, get you a commission to the armed forces, and then the armed forces still kick you out a year later?
Yeah. Was that for possession?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad, honestly.
It
should have made him go through regular enlisted basic military training first. That might have made him straight.
Well, I mean, there's conversations that, politicians in general should maybe do that. So
sounds good to me. Send them.
All right. Well, let's get to the video. What else does Rob have to say?
He never worked in the Biden administration.
What does that have to do with anything I've said?
It has to do with everything, because we're talking about Donald Trump and actually people that are working in Washington, D.C.
But like I said before, and then you corroborated, is the fact that Jared, when he got that $2 billion, wasn't working anymore for the White House, nor was the Trump administration even active anymore. It was the Biden administration.
Also, I hate to get technical, but the money was not sent to Jared. It was sent to his private equity firm.
Exactly.
Which, yes.
So it wasn't directly to him. Whereas Hunter was being paid.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter had payments from Ukrainian, Burisma board, where he did, as far as we know, nothing except for act as a foreign agent potentially.
Talking about is a bunch of what we're talking about as you've done this whole debate is a bunch of non sequiturs. If you remember how we got here, I talked about the morality of Joe Biden, talking about Ashley Biden's diary. You said she never confirmed it. I showed that she did. You then tried to make the argument.
No. That's not what I said, Rob. You're mischaracterizing me. I never said she never confirmed that the diary existed. You are referring to a specific page in the book where she said allegedly that Joe Biden...
Did she ever deny writing that?
She was never asked about it directly.
So I just want to be clear. Your argument is...
Now, if I remember correctly, I've actually seen the screenshots of that page. It looks exactly the same as all the other handwriting in the book. Because her diary was... There were pictures taken of the diary and they were put on the internet.
Rewind 10 seconds. When Rob asks him, did she ever deny it?
To a specific page in the book where she said allegedly that Joe Biden...
Did she ever deny writing that?
She was never asked about it.
I just want to be...
Deer in headlights.
Oh, it's because he's got to think about it. He had to think about it. He had to process it and go, shit. He just asked me that. What do I say?
And according to Brian's logic, that's a valid question. Because it is a valid question.
Did she ever deny writing that?
She was never asked about it directly.
So I just want to be clear. Your argument is she comes out in 2024 and says, yes, this is my diary, and I'm ashamed that my private thoughts were made out there publicly. The number one thing that people were talking about was this passage. But instead of saying, I didn't write that, you're like, I choose to believe she didn't write it until she affirmatively says I wrote that specific sentence.
Okay, so let's just talk about that.
And he completely dodged the question. Rob asked him, so instead of you saying because she wrote the whole thing, then she should have wrote the whole thing, he says, so you think I refuse to believe she wrote it because she doesn't specifically say that I wrote that line? And he goes, okay, so let's talk about this instead.
She didn't write it until she affirmatively says I wrote that specific sentence.
Okay, so let's just talk about that for a moment. I guess this is the hill that you want to die on. So let's talk about that.
It's one non sequitur you're making.
No, hold on. Let's just say that she wrote that in the...
What?
He also turns around. Oh, this is the hill you want to die on, I guess. Well, again,
Rob is the one who's making all the arguments.
It's another emotional appeal to try to get the audience on his side by getting the audience to go, yeah, Rob is just... Why does he care so much about this?
Yep, Rob, why are you so diehard on this thing? Exactly.
The diary.
Sure.
Let's just say that she said...
Did. Let's say the truth.
Hold on, Rob. Let's just say that she said it was borderline inappropriate, which is what she put on that page. Okay. It's not borderline inappropriate to sexually abuse somebody. The guy who you support is liable for sexual abuse. So now
So at one time he says it is not borderline inappropriate to sexually abuse someone. And then says you are liable. You know, the guy you support is liable for it. You just made two separate arguments there, buddy.
Well, and I'm sure if we dig into a little bit, we couldn't find a dozen or more left-leaning and solid left-wing political activists, authors, writers, actors, celebrities who have the same or worse charges against them proven in court that are still allowed in public, that are still accepted on the left.
I'm sure, yeah.
So he's not making a real argument here. He's making an argument specifically against Trump, because this argument would not hold up if one of his friends was found liable for sexual misconduct and he goes, no, I know he didn't do anything. Would he just cut ties with him because he's a whole person?
It would have been proven in a court of law, but then he would be saying, no, I know deep in my heart that he didn't do it. I know he's still innocent.
Maybe. If the crowd turns against him, my brain says that he'll turn against his friend too. because
Yeah, he probably
his
would.
own personal clout and stuff matters more than his true friendships and true loyalties, if he has any.
Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does. Maybe he does. I'm not going to deny that that's a possibility. Yeah, not saying either way.
We can move on to something else.
Here's the point. Here's the point, right? You want to, the way you set this up when you talk to conservatives, you're like, how could you possibly support this person? The truth is, there are many reasons that I could support Donald Trump, even if you think that he's this monstrous person. For example, I could think that he's better with real wage growth, which he's been precipitously better in his first and second term than during the Biden administration. Right? We'll get there, I promise. The point is, you who is making these sort of moral impugning arguments to people, have yourself chosen to vote for a guy that you know is not moral. He denied the existence of his granddaughter. He refused to talk to her. The 13 families that died or that suffered because their family members died during Biden's disastrous Afghan pullout said that he was callous and cold to them, and they were ashamed and enraged at him based on the treatment that they got when they got their chance.
Okay,
so explain to me again how he's moral.
Let's talk about that. Can you please tell me what Donald Trump's policy and how it differed from the policy of Joe Biden?
What does this whataboutism have to do with him being cold to Gold Star families?
Joe, excuse me. First,
the plan being different or not different is not the problem. Because, yes, the Biden administration largely did adopt Trump's pullout plan for Afghanistan. The issue is execution. You and I can have the same fire safety plan in an office building. But if my office building, which is identical to yours, we do drills twice a year, and when the alarms go off, everyone believes it, listens, and files out as appropriate, goes to their exits because they know where they are. And then your building, which is identical to mine, has the exact same safety plan. You guys haven't drilled it, and when the alarms go off, people are like, "Oh, this must be a drill." Okay, and they mosey around, and then people get hurt and injured. You see how the execution of the plan can be more impactful than the design of the plan itself. So my point here is not to make an argument for or against either side. It is an argument to say that his argument is not a real argument.
His argument is flawed. Okay.
First of all, if you want to talk about Gold Star families,
you brought it up, not me.
Okay, I'm happy to have that conversation with you. First of all, you brought up the Afghan pullout, according to Bolton and others.
I thought he wanted to talk about the plan for pulling out, and all of a sudden he jumps to Gold Star families. Why? Because Gold Star families pull on heartstrings. It's emotional. He goes straight from trying to touch a logical argument to let's find something emotional that I can just make people sad or angry, upset about.
But Rob does eventually flip it on him. Because
Rob's been really good on keeping him on his game.
Others that were in Trump's administration, his pullout was the same. He also negotiated a deal to release 5,000 Taliban terrorists. I will also say that Donald Trump, according to General Kelly, I believe, Donald Trump called those that served in our military suckers and losers.
No proof of this. It's hearsay.
Okay, General Kelly's. Okay, so I assume General Kelly's lying.
Did they show?
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I cut that one a little short. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna rewind 5 seconds.
It's hearsay.
Okay, General Kelly's. Okay, so I assume General Kelly's lying.
Did they show it in a court of law?
No, they didn't.
And you're vindicated. Rob makes it for you here in the video. Did they show it in a court of law?
There have been people who claim to have been in the same room with Trump and General Kelly when this was supposedly said, and multiple people have said, no, this wasn't said. I think it's 5 people have come out, a combination of anonymously, excuse me, and said, no, this never happened.
Yeah, at the time and place where General Kelly stated, this is when it happened, and this is what was said. And they were like, I was in that room, and that never happened.
So again,
that's all of a sudden they got short-term amnesia.
There's really not much proof for, not much proof against. So until there is proof that is actually pulled up,
it's exactly what Rob said. It's hearsay.
And if you believe in your heart of hearts he said it, then I guess you can believe it. And if you believe in your heart of hearts he didn't, then you can believe he didn't.
That was a statement. Then according to your standard, a statement. Excuse me. No. So Rob, there's a little difference between a statement that I never said was against the law and a crime. I just wanted to be very clear on that.
Hunter Biden saying I work for the spy chief of China.
Hold on. There is a difference between a statement and an actual crime. Now, who was it that said they didn't respect John McCain because he was captured?
That was
Who said
Donald
that?
Trump. That was Donald
What do you
Trump.
think about that statement? What do you think
It's
about
not
that?
the best statement, but McCain did suck for other
Not
reasons.
the-
I respect his
Not the
military.
best statement.
You asked a question, right? No, let me
Okay.
answer. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that. And certainly there's a claim to be made of Donald Trump that he's a little too hyperbolic with his language. That's fine. You just admitted that you like to joke about Donald Trump, even when he's being moved. Joe Biden he joked, and you accepted that joke about Trump being moved to a bunker. The point I'm trying to make, though, is this was all about Gold Star families.
From what I can recall, I believe he was talking about when on the debate stage, he said that he doesn't like people who were captured. I believe is what he said.
Something to that effect. Yeah, I remember. I think it was before on past. I can't recall if he explicitly called out John McCain's service and specifically called him out for saying he didn't respect him for being captured. I believe he did call him out specifically and didn't say in general he didn't respect POWs. I agree with Rob. Definitely not a pretty thing to have said. Definitely not a nice thing. I don't like that he said it. But again, part of liking someone, friend or boss or whatever, is being able to fairly judge things you do and don't like about them. And I can rightly criticize that statement and be like, no, that was kind of gross, and still go net positive.
Like Rob himself, he's a supporter of Trump, but he also says that comes with, I will criticize him when I feel it is necessary. And he's been doing that for the last year. Every time he thinks Trump has done something wrong, in need of criticism, he calls it out on his show. And when people come back at him, he says, no, I think you're wrong. And these are the reasons why. So, I mean, Rob does a good job defending his own position. He'll tell people, no, I think you're fucking stupid for this. And this is the reason why. So I think Rob is great.
Let me tell you where. Let me finish.
Rob, you're trying to compare. You're trying to compare.
It has nothing to do. Let me explain this. Give me a second to explain.
Hold on, Rob. I'll give you the time. You're trying to compare a joke of somebody saying, go back in the bunker, to somebody crapping on somebody's military service who was a POW for 5 years.
Yes,
that's insane, Rob.
And also, from what I understand, he was a good POW, if you know what I mean.
I haven't done enough to say one way or the other, frankly. But I do.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to crap on him, obviously.
No.
But there are a couple of things that I understand was, yes, he was beaten and tortured like they all were. But apparently the bunkmates that he was with, they did not like him. Apparently he, I don't know if he got special treatment or whatever, but from some of the things that I've heard, and I don't have corroborating information, it's just some of the things that I've heard, is that he gave some names or some information and stuff, but I don't have any corroborating information on that. I'd have to do a lot more research.
Well, I mean, as an officer, he generally is in a better position to get better treatment anyway.
And that's true.
Getting better treatment, but also having possibly been more privy to private information that could have been sold for his own personal well-being. Or honestly, it's also entirely possible that he purposely wanted his bunkmates to hate him to make his captors believe he was feeding them good information to get them overall better treatment.
And that's also true. Yeah.
I don't know. I
thought about that one, but I wasn't sure how well that would hold up.
Well, something I do want to point out, because they don't seem to be going into it at all. For those who don't know, the bunker comment was back during the Summer of Love in May 2020. The White House was attacked, as in one of the guard posts was lit on fire. And that's also when the church across the street was also firebombed. And Trump's security team, the Secret Service, ordered Trump down into the White House bunker. And following this, I believe the New York Times and several other large media outlets called him Bunker Boy and made fun of him for hiding in the bunker. When the White House was attacked. Interesting how you'll make fun of it when the White House is attacked with one person in the office, but I can only imagine how you would feel if it was attacked with the other person in the office.
It would be the most horrible thing ever. It would be worse even than January 6th now. It would be worse than all the deaths of the Civil War, worse than all slavery. Yeah, it would be the worst thing ever.
It's a joke. It was a joke. He was saying, because the joke was, I like people that didn't get captured more because he doesn't like John McCain.
It's a joke.
By the way, John McCain, listen, I'm going to get to the point.
It was a very poor joke. His joke was based off of, I like winners. And he was captured, therefore he's a loser. Poor taste joke.
Like Rob said, it was in poor taste, yes, but I was watching the debate and I understood that it was a joke. Why can't all these people? Again, it wasn't in poor taste. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But I wasn't up there going, oh, that's right. Trump fucking hates you. All POWs suck. Because I have great respect for POWs. What they went through was absolutely horrible.
Well, that's been an interesting
It was
line
a
of attack.
debate. And he was very specifically targeting you, John McCain.
Yeah.
He wasn't talking about all POWs. He has already mentioned, even before then, that he has great respect for the military and for those who were captured and killed during combat.
Well,
He had already done that. And he had been saying that for already 30 plus years.
Circling back around to what they're kind of talking about right
Sorry.
now with Afghan withdrawal. No, you're fine. And the Abbey Gate and the Gold Star families from the service members lost in the Abbey Gate.
Yeah.
They have all pretty much unanimously come out and said they have received more support from Trump when he wasn't in office than they have received from the Biden administration in totality. Than they had received from the Biden administration in totality.
That makes sense.
You know, even last year during the anniversary, Trump went to Arlington to meet with the Gold Star families. And remember, this was actually a paparazzi scandal because he brought in paparazzi to make him look good for the election, even though he'd already cleared for a private photographer to be there with the Arlington unit, with the Army unit stationed at Arlington National Cemetery. He'd already stationed it. He'd already
Are they?
settled.
Are they stupid? Paparazzi is going to be there regardless because
Well,
it's the
there's
1
that.
year anniversary.
And but the thing is, Biden was in office still, did not show up. Biden, who was in
Right,
office
right.
when their service members were lost, did not show up. Trump, who was not in office when those service members were lost, showed up and then was attacked for showing up. And
Just
yes,
because Biden's pudding Bane probably couldn't remember what day it was.
here's the thing is, I can agree in a general bandwagon of politicians using horrible things for press is gross.
Yes,
Except
I
for the
agree.
fact that the story was he was going to use paparazzi to turn it into a him show. Except the story was we're stopping him from doing it. Well, if you'd stop him from doing it, it shouldn't have been a story at all then. Because now he didn't do the bad thing.
Exactly.
But you
Trump no do bad thing, therefore no story.
Exactly, but you turned Trump was going to do a bad thing into a story, even though if you hadn't have stopped him, would those photographs have been plastered all over the news?
Ta-da!
Probably Fox, but hey.
Yeah,
other
probably Fox
outlets
because,
didn't
hey,
have to
look at these
run the story.
a-holes stopping Trump from doing a good thing.
Well, what I'm saying is if they hadn't stopped him, if he'd gone in there, taken the photos with the Gold Star families as the families wanted,
And that's the other thing.
you
People
would have seen those
that-
photos on Fox. As far as mainstream cable TV, you would have seen it on Fox. You might see it on some local affiliates of the other networks, but you're not going to see it on mainstream CNN, MSNBC. You wouldn't have seen it there. There wouldn't have been a story. It wouldn't have been the politician using something horrible for personal gain.
Exactly.
To talk about, right? When it comes to the Gold Star families, we actually have, unlike with Trump, other than John McCain, we have 13 service members' families that died tragically because of the actions of Joe Biden, who said that they were treated like garbage by Joe Biden. Care to respond, or are you just going to have whataboutism? Because
What did
the
they
framing,
say? Which
the
family?
framing for
family?
this debate is you're saying it's immoral for me to even consider voting for Donald Trump. You could have chose to not vote for Trump and not vote for Biden, and yet you still supported Biden and would continue to have supported him even after he insulted these Gold Star families.
How did he insult the Gold Star families?
So all kinds of things. They weren't paying attention
What
to
did
him.
he
He was
say?
watching you,
What did he
looking
say?
at their watch. Was it?
Excuse me. Hold
So
on
you
a
don't
second.
believe the families. You don't believe them.
Hold on
Tell
a
us
second.
why you're right and they're
You
not.
just said-
Go
hold
ahead.
on. You just said looking at his watch. Are you effing kidding me, Rob?
No.
Are you effing kidding me?
No.
The guy looked at his watch, and you want to say because of that, he was crapping on 13 families? By the way, he was at the funeral. Can you name me? Let's talk about this.
Mhm.
Over 150 I'm sorry, 150 soldiers died. Donald Trump's first go around when he was president of the United States. Can you name me one of those funerals he went to?
No, I don't know. And now I would like you
don't
to.
know. You know you don't know because he didn't, Rob.
Okay,
He-
now I.
This reminds me of all the talks of police brutality and racial killings in the streets and all the conversation about that. And when during one of the press events for one of the named ones that was discussed in the last decade, the police commissioner was looking at his phone and the media attacked him. And his response was, "I'm sorry, I have 13 black people who died in this city in the last week. Can you tell me the names of any one of them?" I was looking at my phone because we were trying to solve, I can't recall if it was the life taken away of or if it was the missing persons of a child. And the police commissioner was just like not having it. You guys don't care. You're using this political game. And that's right now what Brian is doing. Can you name me one of them? Can you?
Can Brian?
That's my point. Yeah. It's not about that at all. And to a point, I don't disagree with the argument of, oh, he was looking at his watch. Is it really that bad? It's like, no, that in isolation really is not that bad. But it's the fact that was indicative of the Gold Star family's entire experience with him. Mm-hmm. They used that as a focal point to go. He seemed bored with us the whole time. He seemed disinterested. He seemed like he wanted to take a nap, even going as far as checking his watch. And it felt as though he was checking his watch purely out of how much longer do I have to put up with this crap.
Yeah, the whole point is that the families felt disrespected, which, yes, is subjective. But the point is that Brian is trying to defeat a subjective argument and doesn't realize you can't win that because it's very hard to defeat subjectivity when you're comparing it with another subjective argument, because it's just my feelings.
Well, that's why
the Gold Star families feel disrespected.
Exactly.
Well, you're just going to compare it to somebody else's feelings of disrespect.
Exactly.
Number one. Number two, I don't remember any of the families of the other fallen soldiers comparing, Trump didn't come to my fallen soldier's funeral. Number two, we don't know what Trump was doing during that time. Maybe he had a slew of meetings. Maybe there were all these other things. I honestly don't remember. I have no idea what Brian's talking about at this point.
Well, let's see if we can figure out what he's talking about.
And especially if there were 150 service members who died kind of relatively close to one another, because that's a lot of funerals to be able to get to in a short amount of time. Ergo, impossibilities abound.
Well, the way he said it sounded like he was talking about across the entire Trump one term. So January 2017 until January 2021.
Okay, so that'd be what?
35 to 40 a year.
Spread out. That's definitely doable. So, I mean...
But is that the standard? How many soldiers were lost under the Obama administration? How many of those did Obama go to? How many soldiers were lost during the Bush administration? How many of those did he go to? Like, what is the standard? What is to be expected? You know, whenever we have major loss of life, that's generally when you're able to pull the president to attend. You know, when you have...
I believe these 13 members were all interred at Arlington, weren't they?
I believe so. Yeah, I mean, the Abbey Gate.
And that's why the president was able to go?
Possibly. Yeah, the fact that they weren't buried in local cemeteries, that the services were all held at Arlington, right nearby the Capitol. They didn't have to fly over to California, then Iowa, then Texas, then New York, and
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, which is really my point of just saying, so what is the standard, Brian? You know, by what you're saying, should we also damn the previous presidents for not doing the standard that you are retroactively setting? But he's making a false requirement. That's not even the point of this.
Now, I want you, if those Gold Star family members came on, you would tell them to their face they're lying? That Joe Biden didn't disrespect them?
Which family are you referring to?
There were 13 of them.
Quote. And give me a quote.
I'm telling you that they said all kinds of things. That he was purposely
all kinds of things. You don't even know what they said. You're just making...
And I don't remember the name of the fallacy, but now he's trying to get too specific. Okay, well, which one said which specific thing?
It's the never enough. It's the, I need to know where in the room. Okay, well, I need to know what item you're talking about. Well, I need to know what molecules it's made of. Well, I need to know how many electrons it has. Oh, how many quarks does it have? How many? It's like, when is enough for you? And he's one of those people that on this particular topic, you can never have enough information. If Rob knew the names of all 13 off the top of his head and he could rattle them all off, it still wouldn't be enough for Brian. Brian's point isn't that he has a point. His point is, I'm going to make it your problem to prove an unrealistic standard. Because again, that can be turned around right on top of Brian. Well, can you list the names of every single person who actually allegated against Trump? You said there was 25. Mm-hmm. Name all 25. Give me direct quotes of what they actually said.
Yeah, he said a few things. Then he said, no, I need to know exactly which family said what and went to, so he moved the goalpost.
Exactly, moving the goalpost. So again, which 25 women made accusations against Trump, and what exactly did they say, Brian? Because unless you tell me that, I don't believe you. And then once you do all the research, I'm still going to make up a reason why I don't believe you. Why it doesn't matter. Why it's irrelevant.
That's what they said, right? They said.
Give me a quote.
I'm trying to give you a quote, but you're spurging out. I'm telling you, some of the things they said were that he was not paying attention and seemed in a hurry to get out of there. He wasn't looking them at the eyes, right? It was clear that he didn't care about them. He didn't know their names. He didn't directly talk to them at the funeral. And what's it matter what my interpretation of this is? These 13, let me finish. These 13 family members are insulted by Joe Biden. And I want you to tell, let me finish. I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me why you, who weren't there, knows more than these families that they weren't insulted.
So how many you said 13 families. So all 13 family members were upset because apparently Joe Biden wasn't looking at them in the eye.
No, they had other things to say.
I'm not sure if that was a slip of the tongue or if he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
All 13 family members. No. It was 13 separate families.
Yep. I was thinking the same thing.
I'm trying to figure out how much he even knows about Afghan pullout and Abbey Gate.
I don't know.
It could simply just be a slip of the tongue. They're talking pretty fast. They're going back and forth. We've been pausing this video on and off for well over an hour. It's a 20-minute video. They're talking in real time.
Yeah,
but
true.
That was kind of odd. That's all.
He was looking at his watch.
I find it great that you're belittling. You claim to be this moral high horse, but you're belittling these families who lost service members, and you're laughing. You think it's funny? You're laughing. No.
I just said what Rob said. I said as he's laughing. That's all.
No, you think it's funny.
Laughing at you.
You're laughing
at you.
I want
Here's
you
why.
to explain them.
Rob,
I want you to
let me be clear.
Let me finish.
No.
I want you to explain why you're laughing at these family members that felt sorry. Explain it.
I'm going to tell you.
Tell me
First
what's
of all,
so funny about it.
Rob, you got to be quiet and let me respond. Okay. So here's why I'm laughing. Let me be very clear on this. Let me start by saying this. It's insulting what you're saying. I don't like Ron DeSantis. I don't like JD Vance. I hate a lot about them, but I would never crap on their military service. Let me be very clear. I'm laughing at you. And the reason why I'm laughing at you, Rob, with all due respect, is because I just talked about not only Donald Trump, who is the draft dodging coward, and Donald Trump, who I believe he did say suckers and losers based on a general. Okay. You can disagree. You can not believe that. That's okay.
Argument from authority based on a general. What does his status have to do with anything?
I mean, there is something to say about military officers generally being trustworthy. I mean, using something not dissimilar. When we talk about like UFOs, well now UAPs, the group that heavily talks about them always brings up the stories from military pilots because those have a higher standard. We're meant to believe them. And what it goes down to is, yet largely, we would all love to believe everything that generals of the United States military say. That would be amazing if we could believe everything they say.
Except for the fact that generals are also politicians.
Exactly right. And any service member you speak to, especially any enlisted service member, will go, you don't believe half the crap any officer says.
Exactly.
I mean, that's every conversation I've ever had with an enlisted person about officers.
Maybe a first lieutenant or maybe a captain. Captain is starting to get into their political career.
Reason why I'm laughing at you, Rob, is because you're making the case that somebody in a family claimed that the reason why Joe Biden was disrespecting them is because, quote, he looked at his watch and he wasn't looking at them in the eye. Now, what I am doing, Rob, hold on. What I am doing, Rob, is I am giving you actual quotes and things that Donald Trump has said. Forget about the suckers and losers comment for a moment.
Except that's also what Rob is giving him. So your argument's invalid there, dude. The comparison in Brian's mind doesn't make sense, but in real life, it does.
Things that Donald Trump has said, like the thing he said about John McCain not being captured, which we both agree was awful. I think you would agree that's awful. Can you name me something that Joe Biden has said?
Yes.
In his political career about our brave men and women in uniform, or in this case, a POW.
I was just going to say something, worse he said, if you don't know whether to vote for me or the other guy, then you ain't black, what was it? Poor kids are just as smart as white kids. And that was in the last 5-6 years. I mean, again,
that one blew my mind.
I don't want my kids growing up in the racial jungle back when Joe seemingly actually knew where he was. I mean, honestly, he seemed like a pretty intelligent guy in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Honestly, he seemed pretty sharp. I could see how he would have elected him to a high office in the 70s, 80s, 90s. He seemed pretty sharp. And he was saying racial jungle words back then. Now I know that you add an extra caveat of specifically against the military. I don't know what to say other than, he disgraced the United States Navy by putting his son in just to have his son kicked out a year later. I mean, does that count for anything?
Somebody that was tortured. That rises to the level of Donald Trump saying, I tend to respect people who were not captured. And I'm not talking about looking at his watch for a half a second, which is absurd and embarrassing, or quote, a family member who I feel horrible for that has lost a loved one. I'm sure they were very upset and very angry, and my heart goes out to all 13 family members. But an alleged...
He said it again, though.
All 13 family members, not all 13 families.
Uh-huh.
Family member, you don't know the...
He said it again. So that's 13 family members. So I wonder if he thinks that it's just like the 13 surviving family members.
I mean,
I don't know.
The two ways you would really say it are, the families of 13 lost service members, or you would say the 13 families of those service members lost, or something to that regard.
Or the 13 Gold Star families.
Exactly.
Which is what Rob said.
Which is what you would say, but it's 13 families. I don't know enough about
I don't think Rob calls him
to know
on
if
it,
he's
though.
ever talked about it. I'd be really interested to see if, I'm not sure how long Brian's been doing this, but I'd definitely be interested to go back a couple of years and see if he ever talked about it.
He's been on radio for over 10 years.
Oh, I'm interested to see what he said about it when it happened.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Name, you don't know who it is, who said, quote, he didn't look us in the eye and he looked at his watch. So can you name me something else that rises to the level, Rob, of telling somebody you don't respect them because they were captured?
Yes. The pearl clutching over Trump's joke and you not liking his language is irrelevant to how these actual individuals felt by Joe Biden. Christy Shamblin, mother-in-law of Marine Sergeant Nicole Gee, stated Joe Biden's refused to acknowledge her sacrifice. Darren Hoover, father of Staff Sergeant. Let me finish. I give you plenty of time to talk.
You're not giving me anything. I want to go one statement at a time.
Go ahead.
Okay, so read that first statement again, and then let's discuss.
She refused to recognize the sacrifice of their daughter.
How? How did he refuse?
What does it matter? Is her feelings incorrect?
I want to know what she thinks Joe Biden did to disrespect her family. So it's
right there in the statement. He refused to acknowledge the sacrifice because that's how she feels. Again, it's a subjective thing. You can't disprove it.
Earlier, he demanded Rob give him the names and the quotes. Now Rob is trying to give him the names and the quotes. And he goes, whoa, hold up.
One at a time so that we can go through them all.
So that I can have time to think, so that you can't just prove your point. He's trying to just shut Rob up, he's trying to find any opportunity to change the subject so that Rob doesn't have the chance to read out 13 names and 13 quotes.
Yeah, so he's just trying to explain away this woman's feelings.
Well, what
exactly what he's going to try and do. Exactly. What did he do? He didn't do anything? Well, then she shouldn't feel this way. Because I'm pretty sure what he's going to say.
If I haven't really thought about it from this perspective, but if the roles were reversed and this happened to a president that I voted for and I liked, and these things were said about quote unquote my president, the things I would say would be, I'm really sorry that she felt that way. I know in my heart, I hope that the president didn't feel what she, or didn't actually do what they felt. It's possible that maybe she was in so much grief with the loss of her child, spouse, service member, that perhaps she didn't just but it would not be, oh, she's wrong. It would be, I hope that that's not what actually happened. I really hope, because if so, that's freaking terrible. That's what it comes down to, is I hope that's not what really happened, and if it is what happened, that's freaking terrible, and my president, quote unquote, should do better. That's the end of it, because this is not policy. That's the thing. This is the thing they can't understand, is this isn't policy. You want to argue Trump's a bad man. Okay, fine. So we'll show you how Biden's a bad man. Oh, well, blah, 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 blah. So, okay, but your argument isn't that Trump's policies are bad. Your argument is that Trump himself is bad. Do you want to argue policy, or do you want to argue the person? If you want to argue the person, fine, let's argue the person. As soon as I want to argue the person with you, you don't want to argue the person anymore.
Yeah, I believe this was an ethical debate. So
I'm saying just take
which
the L,
they've way deviated from.
Yeah, right. So have we. But when it came to the comment on McCain, Rob and you and I are both like, yep, not a great comment. Wish you hadn't said it. Next.
And we haven't necessarily deviated from it. We're just talking about what they're talking about. We're commenting on them. So I mean,
I've looked around several times.
That's fair.
But like I said way earlier,
way
earlier with the Epstein, it's been poorly executed. Still, right now, we still don't have the full transparency. I feel like we were promised by Trump on the campaign road, over a year ago. Where is it?
And that is a point that we can criticize him on.
And that is more in line with actual policy debate than character debate. But so I can say when I dislike something Trump said or did, personally. I can also say I dislike something Trump said or did administratively, policy. Show me one time. I would love it. Please tell me one thing you disagreed about with Biden personally, and one thing you disagreed, talking to Brian, of course, you disagree with Biden on policy. Because it seems to me you are the one who's being tribal and going, my team good, your team bad. My team can't do bad, your team can't do good.
Exactly.
He thinks Joe Biden did to disrespect her family. So it's just a statement.
What does it matter?
It kind of matters a little bit. I can say, well, he gave me a Diet Coke. He didn't.
He pulled out the old Hillary Clinton. At what point does it matter?
I'm sorry, emails? What emails? What are you talking about?
Like with Bleach? I will never get over that interview and just how the hell she actually asked those damn questions. She might be an old lady, but there's no way in hell she seriously asked that without knowing what she was saying.
Hillary is I like to think Hillary is way too smart to have been that
Exactly.
dumb.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to play it.
Mhm.
Just, I had to make that comment.
He didn't give me a regular Coke, so he's disrespecting me. I want to know exactly what Joe Biden did that would lead her to feel that way. I think that's a very fair question.
I think the fact that you want to belittle how these Gold Star
I'm not belittling anybody, Rob. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm actually amazed at that you're trying to make a comparison between the two. You have a family member who lost a loved one, disrespected. You don't know what Joe Biden did. All you've given me is that he looked at his watch for half a second and he wasn't.
This is it. Neither do you. You don't know what Joe Biden did either. So why don't you say, if he did that, if that's actually what he made them feel, that's terrible. They shouldn't have been made to feel that way. Their family members gave the ultimate sacrifice for this country, and they deserve the utmost respect. And if Joe Biden did not show them that, then I'm disappointed in Joe Biden.
Yeah, and then they deserve an apology or something. Exactly. But instead, he's just arguing about, what did he do to make them feel like that? I want the proof. And then I guarantee you, if you were to give him the proof, he would immediately go, that's not enough to make somebody feel like that. Her feelings are invalid.
But I bet you can make up something evil Trump did today, and he would just damn him instead of demanding proof that Trump actually did it.
Yep, I can guarantee you that.
What happened? No, we are supposed to live in a country of laws where it is innocent until proven guilty.
Mm-hmm.
So you will damn a man with no evidence, but you'll also not damn a man with evidence, or potentially damn a man. Because all I'm saying is that what he should be saying, in my opinion, the best response is going, if that's what happened, that's terrible, and expanding upon that. I personally don't think that's what happened, but if it is, it's terrible.
Well, see, he's going to damn a man that he doesn't like without evidence. But if it's somebody he does like, it damn well better be proven in court. Otherwise, it doesn't count.
Isn't looking at them in the eyes, which is
that's
insane.
not true. The idea that I don't know the exact behavior and context of everything that he said and did. Let's say he said nothing. Let's say he didn't acknowledge them. Would you say that's okay? That's okay. He didn't say anything negative. These people, do you agree that these 13 families felt disrespected? Yes or no?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
You want to keep reading then?
How do you not know that? They said they felt disrespected. So how do you sit there and claim, I don't know that?
Okay.
Rob literally read a quote from that first lady that said she felt disrespected. She felt like her daughter's sacrifice was not being recognized, etc. So how do you sit there and say, I don't know that?
What argument has more validity? People recounting their experiences from 2 days ago, or people recounting their experiences from 20 years ago? Because what he is saying, and literally, I'm going to bring it back to what he was saying earlier with Trump and the sexual assault and abuse allegations. If you want to believe these women, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but he believes these women who are saying 25 years ago, dating back to the 70s, they blah, blah, blah. Well, a lot of these cases didn't even crop up until 2015, weirdly enough. Not all of them, but many. So many of the allegations, rather, against Trump are decades old. Those we can believe. But these Gold Star families, well, we can't believe their perceptions of something that was reported the day after it happened. We can't believe them.
Yep, exactly. But in answer to your question, I would say the 2 years, because details fade. Some of the details even fade after an hour. Mm-hmm. But after 20 years, I would definitely say a lot of the details have changed. You've started misremembering even after the first year.
Well, and that's why you have legal statute of limitations on things.
Exactly.
Otherwise, anyone can come up and say, oh, that person who's running for Congress now, oh, I kind of knew them in high school. You know what? I'm just going to say that they did this to me because I don't like them politically.
Yeah, they cornered me in the locker room and touched me inappropriately or something.
Well, you can't prove he did it. Well, he can't prove he didn't. So you should lock him up. Like that's not how the law works in this country.
Yep.
We keep reading about Darren Hoover, father of Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover, said Biden's actions were, quote, the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. And accused Biden of having blood on his hands. Ask Darren Hoover, bring him on your show.
Okay. So the blood on his hands statement is he didn't like the withdrawal, as I've mentioned earlier, which apparently you did not listen to what I said. And I asked you, what was Donald Trump's withdrawal that was any different than Joe Biden? So the blood on your hands comment is
Well, technically, Trump didn't have a withdrawal, dumbass. Biden is the one that did. In actual policy, from what I understand, Trump had one in place, and then Biden, they modified it. But then a lot of the soldiers there claimed that it was pretty much one day they said, all right, we need to withdraw. You have 24 hours or whatever it was. And people were like, what the hell? And they had to just keep boom, 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 go. Like there wasn't an actual plan or anything in place. They had to make one up and implement it immediately.
Yeah, there was the unsubscribe guys.
And they used the Trump one as an outline.
So the unsubscribe guys back in November, they did a bunch of veteran episodes every Friday that month, and one of them was I believe Sergeant Tyler Vargas Andrews, a Marine, who was at Abbey Gate.
I remember saying him.
Right? Yeah, so he lost arm and a leg. And what I want to get at is where he was talking about how disorganized all this was. How they went from hanging out in, I think it was Saudi, to all of a sudden told, hey, tomorrow we're flying guys over to Afghanistan, and then that week was Abbey Gate. And that's how a lot of the soldiers there got there. Many of them were just like told week of, oh hey, yeah, we're sending you over there to support this. So that's there was no real plan. Again, definitely go back, watch the unsubscribe episode, see what the Marine has to say. It's definitely worth the watch. He's a fantastic storyteller, and he testified before Congress several times about Abbey Gate and what happened, and he was shut down.
You know, you think we have the largest logistics and the largest Air Force in the world. You think we could have flown in a crap ton of C-5s, C-130s, driven all of our shit back to the Air Force. We could have shut down the Air Force. Oh, they're going to need it. Boo fucking who? We need it. We're going to shut down your airport for a day. Get all of our shit out. Get all of our soldiers and all of our people out. It would not have taken that long.
The big issue was our drive to remove as many friendly Afghanis, quote unquote, so as many Afghans as had helped and supported U.S. operations to some extent.
Yeah, I know.
And so we were shipping them out by the thousands. And something interesting is, I'm not sure if you watch Habitual Line Crosser at all, but a few weeks ago, he had an episode where he stopped in the middle of his episode, had a fourth wall break, and said, this is just me talking. And he goes on to talk about how he was actually at one of the bases receiving Afghan nationals. And he was in a meeting with a general. It was a general staff meeting, but there's an actual general there. And he made a comment about how are we vetting these people, and he was politely asked to leave the meeting, and how there were Afghan nationals just walking off base without any ID, without us knowing who they are. We had no idea who we're bringing into the country. This was in part
that's ridiculous.
What happened to the National Guard troops in DC, which just happened a few weeks ago. So on the one end, like I said, you've got Sergeant Vargas Andrews' story of the discoordination on the ground in countries or in Afghanistan, and then vice versa. If you listen to Sergeant Long, Habitual Line Crosser, his video talking about what was the receiving end of those Afghan nationals stateside and how that was also an absolute mess. So to answer Brian's question in a long roundabout way, Trump didn't implement the plan because clearly we weren't ready to implement it yet. Biden, in short, rushed the plan before we were ready with all pieces in place to implement and execute the plan. Ergo, it was poorly executed, and it cost 13 soldiers' lives at Abbey Gate, and possibly the 1 and 2 soldiers in DC recently.
Policy thing that obviously he disagrees with, and he lost a family member, which is horrible. I can understand why he would be upset at that. That is not behavior and statements like what Donald Trump has made. Policy is very, very different. So please give me another example.
Yes, talking directly about a politician that's going after you and telling a joke is not as bad as disrespecting service people that are grieving the loss of their family because of a disastrous decision that you made. You saying that you need to know exactly what Joe Biden said to make these people feel disrespectful is belittling them. And what it is it's showing that the moral standard that you set, and this is the problem, because with this whole discussion, we're not talking about the actual policies. You want to bring it back to Andrew Wilson. Let me finish.
Absolutely.
You want to bring it back to Andrew Wilson so many times as you have. Here's why ethics were so important in that discussion, not to mention it was the topic of the debate agreed to beforehand based on the text that we've seen. But here's why the ethics were so important, because your argument is you're trying to make the point.
Oh, there's so much there. Working backwards. Yeah, that is true that was their agreed upon debate topic discussion, because Jake Rattlesnake was their moderator and he showed the messages between them. And yes, that was their agreed upon topic. So that was pretty funny. So Brian just lied here. But yeah, he pretty much just says, no, it's not. When Rob claimed that it was a bad thing, when he's just belittling the families, you just made a claim. Like, you didn't make an argument. You just made a claim. So where's your argument to back it up?
again, to me, it's kind of disgusting that Brian will sit here and say, "Oh, I'm sure it's horrible. He's lost a family member," but he won't say that he deserved this treatment, and if he didn't get it, then Joe Biden messed up. That's all you need to say. That is not damning Joe Biden because you're still giving the what if, but you are going, I don't know what happened, but if this is what happened, then I disagree. If this is what happened, I agree. You are stating.
Well, that's not necessarily that's not really whataboutism. That is at least giving logic, because you're saying if A then B, or if C then D.
Well,
because like you said, I don't know the specifics, but
see every situation, every possibility. But we're talking about something that
that's
may or
true.
may not have happened in the past. And we've got basically the two situations: the families were offended and they weren't. Those are two options. So what Brian should do is basically give his stance on both, and we can move on with this conversation, because we're so off topic arguing about morality, but Rob's arguing about morality and Brian is still arguing about politics, and that's the problem here.
Yep.
He cannot separate politics from morality.
He thinks they're intertwined.
Well, what it goes into is the case I'm making against Brian is intertwining politics and culture, meaning if two people do the same act that everyone can easily agree is a criminal act, but one of them has the right politics, well, then that one doesn't need a criminal case. I feel like essentially that is where he's going, where he is refusing to actually take a moral stance on what may or may not happen with the treatment of people to our families. He is refusing to take a moral stance because he does not have a moral stance. He only has a political stance. And his political stance says my party good, your party bad.
Gotcha. No, I rewound it just a little bit to see exactly what he said about comparing the two.
Absolutely.
You want to bring it back to Andrew Wilson so many times as you have.
Nope,
Here's
I didn't go
what
far enough.
You're trying to make the point that no one ethical could even support Donald Trump. And yet, even if you think Trump's worse, you supported Joe Biden.
Great work, Rob Noerr.
Calling out lion crying Brian. That's what I call him.
Lion crying Brian.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rob was really hitting something right there in the end. I'm not sure how much longer their conversation went on. I think that their timer was already at like an hour and 40 or so. But he was going on to essentially what I was just having a conversation about, whereas Brian's making the argument that no one ethical could have possibly voted for Donald Trump. Yet, what I was just saying was, but Brian does not delineate between ethics and politics. Two people can disagree on potential thought policy, but there's nothing actionable until there's an action taken. If two people disagree entirely, but they take the same action, then that's one case. But if they disagree entirely, they take different actions, and then that may be a different case. And he does not delineate the difference between the thought and the action. To him, if you have a different thought, then you are already taking the negative action in his mind.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, especially and if you have not, if an action was not taken, then clearly you were not thinking the bad thoughts, such as with if it wasn't proven in court, then you don't have adequate proof. Like with the Hunter Biden stuff. Okay, well, that wasn't proven in court. Clearly, that basically didn't happen the way you're saying it did, because it didn't go to court. It wasn't proven. Ergo, it doesn't mean anything to me. The actions didn't occur because, and the thoughts didn't occur because we haven't had it proven. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I've spoken way too much on this topic. I'm not sure there's much more I can say.
That's fair. I usually end my videos with that same basic thing as well. That's it. I don't know what else to say.